On July 29, 1910, one of the largest mass killings of African Americans in U.S. history unfolded in a small Texas community. And for over a century, America tried to forget it ever happened. This is the Slocum Massacre. This is the story of a thriving black community that was destroyed, and how descendants fought to make sure the world finally learned the truth. Slocum was a thriving African American community in southeast Anderson County, Texas. Black farmers owned productive land. Black families owned stores, granaries, dairies. Jack Holly, a formerly enslaved man, had built an empire: a dairy, a granary, a general store, and 700 acres of land. This was black wealth. This was black independence. And for some, this was a threat. In the weeks before July 29th, racial tensions had been escalating. A lynching in nearby Cherokee County had sparked fear throughout East Texas. Then came the spark that ignited everything. A white man reported that a black man had been placed in a position of authority on a road construction project. A black supervisor over white workers. In 1910, Jim Crow, Texas, that was seen as unacceptable. Entered Jim Spurger, a local white farmer who became the primary agitator. According to historical records, Spurger made claims, without evidence, that black residents were planning an armed uprising. He spread this rumor throughout neighboring counties, and white men began mobilizing. They armed themselves. Large groups began gathering. On the morning of July 29, 1910, violence erupted. According to Anderson County Sheriff William H. Black, who documented the events, the situation quickly became tragic. Sheriff Black stated that white mobs were engaging in mass violence against black residents with what he described as no legitimate cause. He noted that he believed there may have been 200 or 300 men in the mob, and that he conducted searches of black homes that found minimal weapons, only 9 older shotguns that showed no recent use, along with a small amount of ammunition. What followed was systematic violence. Armed mobs rode through Slocum and surrounding areas. Black residents fled into forests and marshes. According to eyewitness accounts documented in historical records, many families were forced to abandon their homes and properties to escape. The official count reported by authorities was 7 to 8 deaths. However, Sheriff Black made a troubling observation that suggested the true number was far higher. He noted that the scattered nature of the violence made it extremely difficult to account for all victims. The true death toll was never officially determined. According to historian E.R. Bills, who researched the Slocum Massacre, an act of genocide in East Texas, Sheriff Black's own words indicated that the actual number of casualties may have been significantly higher, potentially reaching over 100 or more. The bodies were scattered across the wooded areas of East Texas, with many never properly accounted for. What followed the initial violence was even more significant: a complete system failure of justice. While indictments were issued against Jim Spurger and approximately 15 other men for multiple counts related to the violence, the trial was moved to Harris County. The charges were quietly dropped. None of those indicted were ever prosecuted. Black residents who survived fled the area. Jack Holly lost his entire estate, his dairy, his granary, his general store, and his 700 acres, when white residents took possession of the property after he and his family escaped to save their lives. The thriving black community was systematically dismantled through both violence and the seizure of property. The larger tragedy was the silence that followed. For 101 years, the massacre was not officially acknowledged by Texas state or local government. It wasn't until 2011 that the Texas legislature formally recognized that this event had occurred. In 2015, the Texas Historical Commission approved a historical marker. Not until January 16, 2016, did a commemorative marker finally stand at the site. 106 years. For the victims whose names were never recorded, for the families who lost everything, for the descendants who had to fight for a century just to have their ancestors' story acknowledged. Constance Holly Jawade, great-great-granddaughter of Jack Holly, led the effort to get the historical marker placed. She spoke about the importance of remembering this event, noting that erasing this history means disrespecting those who suffered. She emphasized that acknowledging difficult parts of our past is essential for understanding our present and building a better future. The Slocum Massacre represents one of the largest mass tragedies involving African Americans in U.S. history. It was an event that went unprosecuted, unresolved, and was deliberately erased from public memory for generations. But the descendants of Slocum refused to let their family histories be forgotten. They fought, they persisted, and they succeeded in ensuring that this story is now part of the historical record. This is what accountability looks like, not just in the moment, but in the decades of effort required to simply have the truth acknowledged. These families did not get justice through the legal system, but they got something else. They ensured that history would not forget. Share this story. Comment on what this history means to you. Because remembering these stories is how we honor those who came before us. We ensure that these narratives are preserved, researched, and remembered. Because the people of Slocum deserve to be remembered. Their story matters, and it must be told.